Madam Deputy Speaker, with your leave, I rise to make my contribution to this debate on the Appropriation Bill 2026-2025. Madam Deputy, I want to lend my support to the mover of this bill, who happens to be our esteemed Prime Minister and the Honourable Member for Constituency Number 8. And as Minister with responsibility for agriculture, sports, small business, including cooperatives and the creative economy, I wish to present this address, showcasing how we are investing in our people and powering progress across these areas specifically, and how we are building our sustainable island state together. But Madam Deputy Speaker, allow me to begin my presentation by talking about how we've been investing in our people in the area of sports and sports development. Madam Deputy Speaker, this budget that was moved by the member for number 8 speaks to our young people as it relates to sports development. Speak to those training after school, Madam Speaker, and it speaks to the parents as well, all those sitting on the sidelines, happily looking on as their children develop. Madam Speaker, this budget speaks as well to the coaches who volunteer, in most cases, their times, evening after evening, to ensure that our young athletes develop into wonderful men and women. Madam Deputy, I believe you yourself had a stint at coaching our young men and women, so you know a bit of what I'm talking about. Now, you would agree with me then, Madam Deputy, that sport is not just a luxury, and our sportsmen and women are not just there for our entertainment either. We in this government do not see sport as just recreation. Madam Deputy Speaker, sport is a strategic pillar of our national development and a powerful vehicle for social transformation. Sports build healthier citizens, empowers youth, strengthens communities, and it stimulates economic activity. That is well documented. In fact, Madam Deputy Speaker, if I were to look at our own federation, and we were to look at this year, 2025, when we reflect on a sport such as cricket, which the Caribbean has been well known for, and we look at our own contribution to the development of Caribbean cricket, we would have seen that our federation would have been doing exceptionally well, having hosted the West Indies versus Bangladesh females in January of this year. And then we moved on to the St. Kitts Cricket Association 40 Over League in February of this year. Then we went on to host the West Indies Senior Men Regional Championships from February to April of this year. We then moved on to the West Indies Senior Women Regional Championships, February to March of this year. We hosted the Big Six cricket tournament from March 17th to 22nd of this year. And then we went on to the Leeward Islands on the 17th and on the 19th in April of this year. After that, Madam Deputy, we had cool and smooth tournament in May of this year. And then we had the West Indies on the 19 men's June and July of this year. Following that, Madam Speaker, we had the West Indies versus Australia men, also in July of this year. And then, of course, we went into CPL in August of this year, and the CPL tournament went on even though beyond St. Kitts into September. Following the CPL tournament, we had the Leeward Islands Senior Men's Championship in October of this year. And we had the St. Kitts Cricket Association Keith Atherton T20 November into December now of this year. Madam Deputy Speaker, just about every single month on the calendar, we've had cricket development in St. Kitts and Nevis. Never before has this been this way. And so, Madam Speaker, to be able to do that, we had to focus on infrastructure. We've put a targeted focus on infrastructure, Madam Speaker. We have been working at developing our facilities. And let it be noted that when we took office in 2022, when we looked and did a report on our national stadiums, be it the Warner Park Cricket Stadium, Warner Park Football Stadium, Warner Park Netball Stadium, Warner Park Tennis Stadium, the Kim Collins Athletic Stadium, and Basketball City for our basketball players. They were all, every single last one of them, all in deplorable condition. And the public has seen that and has been commenting on that. We met them all in deplorable condition. And I laughed earlier when the member for Nevis 9 spoke about his own experience in the past administration and the popular phrase, surplus after surplus. But somehow, with all the surpluses, all of our national facilities were in deplorable condition. All, every last one of them. And so, as a Minister of Sport, I had to get to work. Because I was elected not just to complain about situations, but to find solutions. And I said to our people that given the fact that all of them are in deplorable condition, we would not be able to fix them all at once. And we set out on a pathway to achieve our goals in fixing these stadiums. We started with Warner Park Cricket Stadium, getting it ready for play. That cricket stadium has now seen its success in hosting cricket at the highest level, level, every month of this year. We then moved on to the Warner Park Netball Stadium, which in 2024, we hosted the International Men's Competition in Netball of the Americas. We then moved on from that to do some work on the lighting in Warner Park cricket and football stadiums. And now we are moving on, where the work is ongoing at Basketball City. Now, Madam Speaker, I want to talk about some of this work. Basketball City, Madam Speaker, I was told was laid in the early 80s, somewhere around 81, 82, Dr. Douglas, maybe? And I remember when we were removing the concrete because we had to replace it, the head of the Basketball Association brought it to my attention that what we were doing was removing something that had been there since the early 80s and had not been touched since. But let's go even more specifically. The surface of the court was extremely damaged. And I remember it was last year when they were playing a tournament there. And I was there observing the games. And a young man tripped on that surface and injured himself. And I said to them, no more of that. We have to get an upgraded facility for our athletes to be able to play in a safe environment. Today, Madam Speaker, Basketball City is nearing completion, getting ready for the 2026 tournament. Promises made, promises kept. Madam Speaker, I also want to turn attention to the Connery Football Stadium. Madam Speaker, the people of Connery have been asking for a football stadium for a very, very long time. And we heard the mover of the bill speak about it. That when he was there in 2013-14 thereabout, he had started the process, and the process had been abandoned after the administration was removed from office in 2015. Madam Speaker, what was placed there after 2015 was a container, and asked them to use that as their facility. A shipping container, Madam Speaker. And that was given to the people of Connery as their facility then. Madam Speaker, I am happy to note right now, the people of Connery has a world-class stadium to enjoy their football right now as we speak. Wheelchair accessible, everything well, spanking new stadium. I was even jealous because, you know, I'm a football fan as well. When I went to the dressing rooms and the way they had the dressing rooms all set up. Everything in the dressing room. But the people of Connery has gotten the best. But you know what is most important about that stadium, Madam Speaker? The process. The people of Connery were engaged in that process all the way through to the end. It was even built by the people of Connery. And that is important, that our people are involved in their own development. But Madam Speaker, I also want to speak about another sporting facility, national facility, the Kim Collins Athletic Stadium. The Kim Collins Athletic Stadium we've been working on. Now this stadium was built in 2008 under the previous Labour administration, led by our, as I call him, our icon here, member for number 6. The next time that stadium saw development, significant development, was the upgrade of the track, which happened in 2013, I am told, under the leadership, still under the leadership of the member for number 6, but then the sport minister was the Honourable, the late Honourable Glenn Ghost Phillip. Madam Speaker, neither track nor building saw any significant upgrade since Mr. Phillip. There was one additional upgrade, which was
intentional degradation of the track.
We're going to get to that part too. One upgrade that happened was the building of a call center in the facility. But outside of that, there was no further upgrade to that facility. And the call center is not finished. And I was told, as I heard, I think it was last year in these same sessions, that $10 million was spent. I don't know what it was spent on, but I was told that it was spent. Now, outside of no further upgrades being done, Music Festival was hosted there a few times under that administration. And a number of other things that were done there did not contribute well to the upkeep of the track. And the track was in horrible condition. Horrible condition. When we brought the experts in, the experts said we needed to change that surface right away. And we got to work. Now these things are processed, and sometimes you go through the process, and whether by international standards you have different challenges, but nonetheless, through all the challenges, we stood to the task. We made sure to push through it, whether it was shipment delays, whether it was airline delays, whether it was weather delays, we stuck to it. Today, Madam Deputy Speaker, the people of St. Kitts and Nevis have a brand new reggae track of the highest standard of any facility of that size. Yes, it is in constituency number 1.
I feel athletic again, boy.
That's what I'm talking about. Madam Deputy Speaker, our track is now certified to the highest standard any track of that size could be certified to, globally. And the pavilion has been completely renovated. Brand new roof, brand new bathrooms, brand new interior, brand new seating, almost brand new everything except the structural walls. Madam Speaker, we got to work. And the 2026 athletic season will come with our athletes running on a brand new track there at Kim Collins. Something that they could not get from the past administration. In the 7 years, they did not get that. Yes, we ran on it already.
And I beat you.
Well. How much? Well, you said 5 well. Well. But Madam Speaker, that's on the national level. And we will continue to work at the national facilities. But I don't want us to ignore the fact that the community facilities were also in deplorable condition. And we have been working on them too. We have heard the member for number 1 speak on the Newtown football field and the work we have done there in renovating the stadium. We have, the roof was a safety hazard. And we got to work and we fixed that. Madam Speaker, we renovated the entire stadium at Halfway Tree. Madam Speaker, we did some work down in St. Paul's, St. Peter's. We did some work with the lighting and other works that will continue at the gardens. Madam Speaker, we have been working at facilities throughout the island. Newtown, Halfway Tree, St. Paul's, Kim Collins, Warner Park, Basketball City. We have been at work, Madam Speaker. But the sad reality is, it is so much work to do that we have to take the steps necessary to get from one to the other because they were all in deplorable condition. Now, Madam Speaker, I want to turn my attention to Warner Park just for a few minutes. Madam Speaker, on April 16th, 2026, the Warner Park Sporting Complex will mark its 100th anniversary of existence in that capacity. 100 years of sporting excellence at Warner Park. And I want to say this here now, that by the end of January 2026, we will unveil our series of commemorative activities to celebrate that 100th anniversary. Because Warner Park for us represents legacy. But I also want to state that Warner Park represents future. And Madam Speaker, in due course, I will also reveal our vision and our plans for a complete, brand new, overhaul Warner Park sporting facility, which will include a state-of-the-art indoor basketball facility, an upgraded football stadium, a state-of-the-art indoor netball and volleyball facility, upgraded tennis facility, and upgraded cricket stadium. We will be unveiling that in due time. In due time. In due time. We will be unveiling that in due time, Madam Deputy Speaker. But Madam Deputy Speaker, we do not take sport lightly. That is why when we got back into office, we made sure to reintegrate sports into our high schools and primary schools again, as it had been missing for some time. And I want to express sincere gratitude to the parents, to the principals, teachers, staff, and the Ministry of Education for collaborating with the Ministry and the Department of Sports to deliver on these programs. We now have a strong program of sport in school. And if you were there to see any of the football games, you would understand. Right, AG? Strong, the AG is a coach for one of the football teams. But we have a strong sport. An improving one, yes. Mr. Coach. But, Madam Speaker, this is what we are talking about. Building from the grassroots to the international level. And we find that important. And that is why we have also established relationships with sports clubs, such as the Trinidad Netball Police Club. And that partnership saw us hosting the Maraval Netball Club in August of this year for friendly competition. And next year in 2026, we look forward, Madam Deputy Speaker, for our girls to be traveling to face them in Trinidad. So we hosted them this year, and next year our girls will go to Trinidad to face them. And as we talk about collaborations, Madam Deputy Speaker, we recognize that for us to advance sport in any way, shape or form, it will take partnerships. It will take some policy reforms, and it will take, of course, infrastructure. And so while we have been investing in infrastructure, we have also been reaching out to establish the right partnerships, and we have also been looking at how do we develop the right policy. We have been specifically strengthening our collaboration with the SKNIS and Nevis Olympic Committee and all the national sporting federations under their purview. In fact, it was just last week, Madam Deputy Speaker, that the ministry met with the representatives of the SKNIS and Nevis Olympic Committee and Pan American Sports Organization, where introductory meeting with a sport methodologist contracted by Pan Am to the SKNIS Nevis Olympic Committee to develop, along with the ministry, a comprehensive sports development plan for SKNIS and Nevis. We are not just thinking about today or tomorrow. We are thinking about the future, Madam Deputy Speaker. What will SKNIS and Nevis be like in the area of sports 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now? And we now have a sports methodologist contracted to help us plan and chart that course. When we talk about transformational. Madam Deputy Speaker, we are investing in our people because progress begins with people. And so we are investing in our coaches, our referees, our administrators, our volunteers, and sports professionals. Madam Deputy Speaker, in 2026, we aim to ensure all coaches receive certification. And we will strengthen the knowledge sharing and, of course, make sure that we improve on athlete care because our athletes are indeed our precious gems. We have to protect them. But beyond that, Madam Speaker, 2026 will be a great year for sports and infrastructure as well. We've done quite a bit of work, but there's still quite a bit left to do. And Madam Speaker, I just want to briefly outline how this budget for 2026 will help our sportsmen and women. We will certainly be upgrading the tennis courts around the country. Yes, please.
My daughter won the under 12 Antigua versus SKNIS competition.
We have champion tennis players, and we are now getting on to tennis. Madam Deputy Speaker, as we have champion players in the village in tennis, we also know that, village has had its time as champion football team. And while the Oro just enjoy their time at the top of the table, we want to ensure that we support the village and its football development. And that is why in 2026, we will be constructing a stadium in the village in Limekey. We will be finally constructing a stadium in the village in Limekeel in 2026.
Thank you.
So hopefully that will help you to compete against us.
And the community is involved.
But Madam Deputy Speaker, as we talk about the member for number 6, and he mentioned St. Paul's, I want to also put on record that in 2026, we will be fencing the Saddlers playing field as well. In 2026, the Saddlers playing field will see their facility fence. That is what we are saying. Investing in our people and powering progress. Madam Deputy Speaker, we will also be getting round to some work that are well overdue down at the Gardens playing field as well. We will also be getting on to some work overdue at the Virtuals playing field as well. We will be moving down into the Derby area as well, Madam Deputy Speaker, and a number of other facilities around the country. This budget is investing in our people in sports, ensuring that our youth have positive outlets, and ensuring that sports provide a deterrent from negative influences for our young people. Investing in our people, powering progress in sports. But I want to move on, Madam Deputy Speaker, a bit from sports, as we see we have been doing quite a bit of work there, but move on to another area. And that is the area of small business, cooperatives, and the creative economy. Madam Deputy Speaker, I wish to speak on how this ministry and the budget that was vested in this ministry is investing in that small business owner in Kayan, to the seamstress in Sandy Point, to the vendor around Bastia, to the young creative in constituency number 4, who puts in all that work in the wee hours of the morning. The Ministry of Small Business, Cooperatives and the Creative Economy has shown the region and the world the power that comes with investing in your people. The ministry, Madam Deputy Speaker, stands as one of the most dynamic engines of inclusive growth, innovation, and resilience. It is where our culture meets commerce and creativity meets the opportunity, and where enterprise meets empowerment, Madam Deputy Speaker. Madam Deputy Speaker, when we look back at 2025, the ministry, through SPDC, did training sessions in 2025 alone for hundreds of MSMEs, Madam Deputy Speaker. We are talking about training them in digital transformation, in business continuity, in financial literacy, and in market readiness, making sure that our small businesses were ready to take on the global challenges. Madam Deputy Speaker, one-on-one digital marketing sessions, intellectual property workshops, and financial management training also strengthen the competitiveness of our small businesses to compete not just locally, but to have them compete on a regional level. One of the major highlights I wish to highlight for our small business development for 2025 was our Sundown Summit. We conducted this with the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange and the National Bank, the SKNIS National Bank. Madam Deputy Speaker, this summit was to explore pathways for small businesses to have a clear avenue to access finance, because our small business sector has said that is one of their greatest challenges. How do we go and access finance from lending institutions and grant institutions that offer grants. But we took it a step further, Madam Deputy. We even got them advice on how they could prepare their businesses for entry into the regional stock exchange. Because, Madam Deputy Speaker, we are not just thinking about moving St. Kitts in small steps. One of the things that I committed to when I was campaigning for office is transformational leadership. And so, yes, we want them to access capital through the banks. Yes, we want them to understand how to best prepare themselves to attain grants, but we want them to go to that next level. How do you now list your companies on the stock exchange so that you could really tap into the world of finance? Transformational advice rendered to our small business persons right here at our Sundown Summit. Madam Speaker, this is where we are shifting the idea of small business from just being small to structured, and from being just businesses that are surviving to businesses that are thriving, Madam Deputy Speaker. But one of the focal points that we've had in this investment in small business, Madam Deputy, is the investment in our women entrepreneurs. We have placed focused attention on our young women in business. We have given them training in leadership and different capacity building initiatives, which reinforces this government's commitment to inclusive participation and gender equity. Madam Deputy Speaker, when you look at the entire structure of not just the Parliament but the Cabinet, you recognize that there's a high volume of women participating. That was one of the mandates of this government, and we continue to push that mandate across the board, even in small business development. Madam Deputy, because again we've been talking about access to finance, the ministry launched another initiative with the St. Kitts Nevis and Anguilla National Bank. That initiative is called Building Bankable Businesses. And Madam Deputy Speaker, this initiative continues to transform the entrepreneurial landscape. It provides a one-stop environment for combining training, financial literacy, mentorship, and direct engagement with the financial institutions. Madam Deputy Speaker, this is what we talk about empowerment. This is what is bridging the divide between just our young people having an ambition into now having access. This is what has given rise to sustainable enterprises. Enterprises that can create jobs, Madam Deputy Speaker. Enterprises that stimulate spending. And enterprises that, of course, will expand the tax base of St. Kitts and Nevis, ensuring that our country not only moves and diversifies from the troubling CBI to ensuring that we have a stable and forward-moving economy as well. Small businesses are the backbone to any economy. We know that. And developing small businesses means that you're developing the country, developing the economy, and developing your people. Investing in our people. But, Madam Deputy Speaker, allow me to move on because I know I have quite a bit to speak on, and the time could be limited sometimes. But let us talk about cooperatives, Madam Deputy Speaker. Because you see, what we recognize is that if you really want to build a sustainable ecosystem for business, you have to look at how businesses are originated. And so the creative idea that originates the business has to be fostered. You have to look at how you develop that business. You provide access to finance, you provide the training and the development sessions. But when you have established businesses, one of the best structure is a structure of collaboration. and the member for Nevis 10 could speak to that as well. A structure of collaboration, and one of the best structures that we have been utilizing is the structure of cooperatives. Madam Deputy Speaker, we have been powering progress to the development of cooperatives. The Gideon Force Organic Farm is one that jumps out. The Datebay Fisheries Corp and the other Fisheries Corp, because there's quite a few of them, also jump out as well. But one of our shining stories, Madam Deputy Speaker, that has not been given a lot of mention is our Junior Savers Cooperative, where young people in all the primary school are able to save under the cooperative structure. This has been a shining light across St. Kitts and Nevis. And we have been strengthening this, Madam Speaker, and ensuring that it has the right structure and guardrails. Because we've seen some troubling matters over the last couple of years with that, and we had to make sure that we restructure it to give it the right stability and guardrails to be a strong force for our young people. It encourages our young people to learn about financial management at an early age and protect that through the development of the cooperative. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, this year, as I talk about developing cooperatives, we spent a lot of time developing the Cooperative Societies Act, revising it, Madam Deputy Speaker. And the groundwork for that was done this year, setting the stage for us to move into 2026 to go and pass those revisions into law and develop that Cooperative Societies Act. So we're looking forward to strengthening the Cooperative Act in 2026. Cooperatives need to be developed, structured, so we can establish strong grounds for our business sector to find the right collaboration for development. And that we are doing, Madam Deputy. But Madam Deputy Speaker, beyond just developing cooperatives, I want to speak on the creative economy. Madam Deputy Speaker, when we took office in 2022, this government decided to put together a construct called the creative economy. That construct to date has done phenomenal work, having only been formally established in 2022. What do I speak of, Madam Speaker? We can look to the most recent Carry Festa in Barbados, where we had over 80 persons in our delegation, and where St. Kitts and Nevis stood tall, stood loud, and stood proud in Barbados. St. Kitts and Nevis was the talk of Carry Festa this year. In fact, I want to give credit to my good friend and brother Jahir for her outstanding achievements there at Carry Festa. When I saw the artwork that she created with braids, I myself had to applaud and say, wow, St. Kitts and Nevis got talent can done.
Wow.
Madam Deputy Speaker, culture loud, SKN proud was the slogan, and we couldn't be any more proud of our delegates. Our talent is world class, and we have known that. And with the creative economy, we have been harnessing that talent and pointing it in the right direction. Madam Deputy Speaker, another bold initiative that was done this year by the creative economy was the Afri-Caribbean Exchange program that was launched. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, I want to speak on this one a bit. Because this program was initiated in March of this year, when I visited Nigeria for the first time. And formal discussions on that visit led to signing of a number of memorandums of understanding. Those MOUs, Madam Deputy Speaker, laid the foundation for what happened after that. And so after March, by June of this year, we had a 777 landing here directly from Nigeria with over 100 delegates to participate in a cultural exchange here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Over 100 delegates flew directly from Nigeria to St. Kitts to participate in this. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, what does this really mean for the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis? This, I want us to put into context that the United States of America on a whole has a population of just over 300 million, thereabout. Nigeria, as a country, has a population of over 200 million. Madam Deputy Speaker, I was reading an article in Barbados Today some months ago, where they said that if we are able to divert some of our trade into the South-South mechanism, what does that mean? Diverting trade to countries outside of the northern countries. Right now, most of our trade is done with America and Europe. But if we are able to divert trade south, including countries in Africa, South America, and the likes, the Caribbean region, just by doing that, not by changing anything that they order, not by changing their standards, but just by doing that, shifting where they order from, can save over $1 billion annually. Do we understand what that means? The Caribbean region can save over $1 billion annually. We're talking about transformative development, Madam Deputy. And we are leading in that. We are moving towards establishing that rapidly. From March to June, we've had that delegation. Following June, we had a delegation that came back for Caribbean Week of Agriculture in September. At that delegation, we sat with that delegation, myself as the Minister of Agriculture, as well as Dr. Jules, who's the head of the OECS. And what is developing from that is that in March of 2026, myself as the Minister of Agriculture for St. Kitts and Nevis will be co-chairing an agricultural summit with the Minister of Agriculture of Nigeria, where the OECS ministers will be brought along, and some ministers from across Africa will also be brought to the table. Establishing relationships for the development of agriculture and South-South trade. St. Kitts and Nevis again at the forefront of that agenda, leading that agenda. This is transformation at work. And the member for Nevis 9, it was in his presentation, spoke to the idea of sometimes when you establish something, people don't see it right away. And then later on, people understand the importance of it. But I think we are getting closer to the understanding of why is it important. Because if we be fair and honest with ourselves, we are one decision away from turmoil if we stay in the same space that we are. And I'm not talking about our decisions. We saw what happened to Antigua and Dominica. We need to make decisive action to protect ourselves in any event. And we are moving towards that steadfastly, Madam Deputy Speaker. Madam Deputy Speaker, the momentum didn't stop at Caribbean Week of Agriculture. A few weeks ago, Madam Deputy Speaker, a delegation from St. Kitts and Nevis visited Nigeria to participate. The delegation was invited by a foundation in Nigeria, Miss M Foundation. Initially, 40 individuals from St. Kitts and Nevis were invited. Cultural practitioners, farmers, regular persons, ministers, and what was disheartening for me was the fact that students from our local high schools were invited to be a part of an exchange program. And because of unforeseen flight delays and cancellation, they did not make it on that trip. But they have been rescheduled for March of next year. But let me talk about that cultural program. Because in June, when they came from Nigeria to St. Kitts, we did a program where the young persons from Nigeria had a forum with the young persons from St. Kitts. To date, as we speak even now, they are in a chat forum where they continuously communicate and share ideas. That is international engagement and youth development at work. What we were doing now was a program where we were taking one young person from every high school in the Federation. Unfortunately, when we reached out to the Nevis end, they said that they did not wish to participate. And so we focused on St. Kitts. But we were taking one person from every public high school in the Federation to Nigeria, pairing them with a young person from Nigeria, and doing a planting program. Now, the idea of planting a tree wasn't just about planting a tree. It was creating a forum for them to communicate, share ideas, and interact for years to come. And the idea with that was for that same child from Nigeria to come and plant a tree on this side. And so they have a common cause to communicate across the Atlantic. Youth development, visionary, forward-thinking development of connecting our countries in meaningful ways. Madam Deputy Speaker, this is the kind of development that our country needs to see. Because coincidentally, in that same period of time from March till now, St. Kitts and Nevis became the first country outside of Africa, the first country in the Western Hemisphere to enjoy full visa-free access into Nigeria.
That's a good move. Congratulations.
And some of these things, Madam Deputy Speaker, most people may not recognize the importance. But you know, when I understood how valuable that was, and it warmed my heart. When we were traveling through London to Nigeria a few weeks ago, one of the members had a passport for a world superpower. And I would refrain from naming, but a world superpower. And the authorities in London said to that person, "Don't you have another passport? Because this one won't get you in without a visa." He had to take out his St. Kitts passport to get into Nigeria without a visa. Eh? When our passport is showing more power than passports that we revered all the years, we should be happy and proud for our development. These are the steps towards national development. Madam Deputy Speaker, and these are the steps that we are steadfastly pursuing to make sure that St. Kitts and Nevis is progressing in the modern age. Madam Deputy Speaker, I also want to recognize a fact that we have not really been paying close attention to. A lot of times, our history has encouraged us to discredit our identity and who we truly are. And to say it plainly, our own teachings throughout history has encouraged us to hate our blackness. And we pretend to be everything else in the world but black people. Somehow we don't appreciate who we are. And I'm saying to my people in St. Kitts and Nevis, it is time we move away from that old teaching and appreciate who we are. Because while we are not appreciating, most of the world's natural resources come from Africa. And everybody else is taking it and reselling it back to us at escalated prices. We have a direct connection to the source, culturally, economically, diplomatically. Let us use it wisely and not let everybody else use it and then resell it to us. In every way, shape, and form. While I was there, I was decked out in my three-piece kaftan. Yes. And I heard that some people had criticisms because I was decked out in a three-piece kaftan. But nobody's criticizing that I'm decked out in a suit. So what makes this more valuable than a kaftan? The last time I looked at my skin, I was black.
That's a good point, Carl.
And so, from what I know, black people come from Africa. And so that is more home to me than anywhere else outside of St. Kitts and Nevis. So me wearing a European suit is somehow more valuable than me wearing an African suit. Well, I am telling you, I am coming to Parliament in my kaftan during the budget. I will be coming to this Parliament in my kaftan for this budget debate. And so I want us to recognize. But it is a suit, an official suit at that. And it looks good and fit nice. That's right. So I am no longer going to hate my blackness. And I am encouraging our country to no longer hate your blackness. Embrace your blackness. Embrace your roots and your culture. Embrace our people. We are part of the African diaspora. Africa has been our home, and we know this. We should not run away from that fact. And I just wanted to highlight that because I think it's important to say it. I think it's very important to say it. But Madam Deputy Speaker, while I was in Nigeria, I also had the distinct honor of commissioning an Afro-Caribbean Cultural Center there. This is a space where artists from the Caribbean and artists from Africa will be able to display their work. Our own artists in St. Kitts and Nevis will be able to display our works there in Nigeria. Again, remember I told you, Nigeria has a population of 200 plus million people. So you know what that means for exposure and development of our artists? Madam Deputy Speaker, I am proud to know of what is happening between St. Kitts and Nevis and the African continent, specifically that which is happening in Nigeria. I also want to touch on the fact of something that moved me while I was there. While I was there with the delegation at the foundation launch, the launch of the Miss M. Honourable Foundation, I saw our people show up and show out. I saw bloggers like Mr. Glasgow, who was able to document the realities of Africa that he had never been taught before. But more importantly, I saw how our own Sankofa Maccabee captivated hundreds of Nigerians with a song that they felt was written about their own circumstance. Mama Africa calling me. The east side, west side, south side, north side, it's time we come together. And he had a room of hundreds of Nigerians captivated by his song. In fact, they have since told me they want to get that song on radio over there, and they want him to shoot an official music video. Our own Ras Sankofa Maccabee. But I also saw Dejua rock the crowd. Now, we know Dejua has been one of our top artists for a while, but to watch him perform on the African continent was a distinct joy and pleasure for me, Madam Deputy Speaker. And these things make me feel proud. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, I also want to move on and talk about a bit within that same ministry, because I want some time to talk about agriculture. All right, so I want to move forward within that same ministry and talk about, briefly, our sugar mass, our national carnival. Our national carnival was vested under my interests in 2022. We hosted our first carnival then, and immediately one of the things that I did, because we had short notice, was to launch Sugar Mass Awards, which has been doing phenomenally well in recognizing some of our people. Ms. Skerritt and so many of those were so honored to have received their flowers before they pass on to the graveyard. Over 50 plus years of service, some of them, to our national carnival product. And I was happy to be the minister to launch such an initiative. But not only that initiative has grown, our national carnival product has grown, Madam Deputy Speaker. And even now, as we speak this year, we saw the launch last week. And at the launch, we saw how many persons came out to celebrate the opening of Carnival. But we also saw a phenomenal display of local talent at the Talented Teen Show, the Republic Bank Talented Teen Show. Madam Deputy Speaker, I believe we had well over 3,000 plus people inside looking at our young contestants.
Oh yes, I was there.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Madam,
I was there.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I want to, Madam Deputy Speaker, commend our national talented team, 2025 to 2026, Madam Deputy Speaker. But as I'm talking about her, I can't help but feel a bit sad, because on the night of the pageant, I was next to her while everyone from her principal, her mother, her family, her friends celebrated her success. Celebrating her success on the stage, and I stood and enjoyed the moment with them, Madam Deputy Speaker. And less than 24 hours after, I had the most difficult experience in observing our National Carnival chairperson ushering her out of the Junior Calypso show before she heard the news that her mother had passed. And I want to ask for a brief moment of silence for the extraordinary Janet Johnson, who has given her life to service of pageantry, of culture, and of artistic development. She has given her entire life to it. And if you may, Madam Speaker, we have a moment of silence. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, honorable members. I believe that
Honourable Member, you have 30 minutes.
I believe that her contribution is worth reverence of the highest order. But Madam Deputy Speaker, I have known Janet for a long time. In fact, in a past life as an entertainer, my second music video, Janet was actually one of the featured females in that music video. This has to be some 20 years ago. I have known Janet for quite a while. And Janet has always been a bubbly, lively spirit. Sometimes it seems like nothing ever bothers her until you get her on that side. But she has always been able to just exude vibrance, no matter where she went. And she was very supportive in so many ways. And when I think, what would she want for us here in the country, notwithstanding the unfortunate situation? Thinking about who she has been, I'm quite sure she would say, Sugar Mass, play on. Sugar Mass, play on. And so I want to encourage us, as we honor her, to continue to celebrate as she did, be as vibrant as she was. When I looked at the video with her on stage celebrating her daughter's success, you saw her in living color. And I don't know if it's unparliamentary to say, she could walk up.
That's
Culturally. And her son works in the AG's office. And Madam Deputy Speaker, we still have quite a bit of Carnival 2025-26 left on the calendar. And if we have to look at Sugar Mass 53 as a benchmark, then I expect that what we have left will certainly be an experience for our people. We have heard about the historic impact that we've had over our last carnival and the contributions that it has made to our economy. On record, it has put 21 million EC dollars into our economy. And that's something that we should be proud of, because investment in our culture and our people should reap these type of rewards, and we are seeing it in full effect through the investment in Carnival. Madam Deputy Speaker, I am quite sure that Carnival this year sugar mass 54, would reap as well or even higher returns for our people. And I'm looking forward to the same energy as we had from the opening Miss Talented Teen and the Junior Calypso show to transcend all the way through to last lap. You know, and as I reflect, Madam Deputy Speaker, on the Junior Calypso show, the words of Socrates, our famous Calypsonian, comes to mind. Because he came to me in the middle of the show and he said, man, this is an outstanding event. It's a wonderful activity.
You need to sing that, you need to say that loud.
That is true. So this is a call from fellow Calypsonian. That Socrates, you need to sing that loud.
Yes.
But he did come to me and he said, this is phenomenal. He said to me, I can retire now because I am impressed with this. And those words for me means a lot. Huh? Socrates, you still have a competitor here that's still challenging. You got to finish the song. But, Madam Deputy Speaker, as we move forward, I want to take some time to talk about the creative economy in 2026. In 2026, the creative economy will continue its global ascent. We started an initiative in 2024, which was the Creative Power Arts Convention, and we are hosting it again in 2026, where we are bringing industry leaders from across the world to St. Kitts to train not only our people in St. Kitts and Nevis, but people across the wider Caribbean. So we are looking for the industry's best. Last time we had Russia, and we had Scott, and we had so many of the industry's best in different areas of artistic development. And this time we are trying to take the bar even higher. And 2026, we anticipate that the Creative Power Arts Convention will be a featured highlight for our artists and their development. We have also, through our connection again with Nigeria, been able to tap into some of the top producers in Nollywood who are now looking to collaborate with film producers on St. Kitts and Nevis and the wider Caribbean, who are looking to collaborate in developing those wonderful African movies over here in the Caribbean. And we have had the interest of these people, and they are saying that they are ready in 2026 to come into the Caribbean, come into St. Kitts and Nevis, and have that development going. But let us understand, Nollywood is recorded currently as the fastest growing film industry globally. And we have the interest of some of the top producers of Nollywood that are saying, let us work together. Let us collaborate. Again, St. Kitts and Nevis leading the way. Madam Deputy Speaker, beyond just our culture and film and all of that, another thing that I found heartwarming was when I went to Nigeria and I saw Mother Becky's teas being enjoyed and warmly embraced by the people of Nigeria. When I saw them pulling out the bottles of Old Road rum in Nigeria. Because when they had visited, they had fallen in love with these products and had taken them back because they had loved them so much. And the pepper sauce, that's right. Madam Deputy Speaker, what this says to me is that in opening up the right transport routes between St. Kitts and Nigeria, our products can find a home among 250 million people. I hope we understand what that means. I hope we understand what that means. Madam Deputy Speaker, we will continue investing in the development of St. Kitts and Nevis by investing in the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. And as we talk about investment in people, one of the most fundamental investments that we can make is in the area of agriculture. And Madam Deputy Speaker, I want to take some time now to talk about the area of agriculture, fisheries, and marine resources. And in that, I want to start in talking about the area of medicinal cannabis and the Medicinal Cannabis Authority. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, when we took office, the Medicinal Cannabis Authority was vested at that time in the office of the Prime Minister. And it was a year ago that it was transferred, not 2025, 2024, it was transferred over to the Ministry of Agriculture. In such time, we have been working to develop the sector. The sector has many challenges. There is a legal framework that is so delicate. And one time I had to ask one of the stakeholders, who of course is excited to get this industry going. While you want this industry to move fast and swiftly, would you think giving up your ability to go on Amazon and purchase goods is worth it? What do I mean when I say that? If we get this wrong, the potential for international banking relations could be affected. We have to do this carefully. And that is something I want us to understand. That it is one thing to get it done, but it's another thing to get it done right. And as we navigate getting this industry started, there are things that emerge that one couldn't foresee. Because while we inherited a legislative framework, when we did our tours and community engagement, there were a lot of things that came out of those community engagement that we recognized we would have to go back to the drawing board to rectify. And so the previous administration started the work, we inherited the work, but even when we went out to engage the general public, they had a lot of questions about some of what was in the legislation. And I could give some examples. Where the Act speaks to concessions for traditional farmers, yet the Act does not define who qualifies. And without clarity, we risk unfairness and potential legal challenges, right? The Act mandates an electronic track and trace system. And while this is international best practice, we also recognize, is it really affordable and appropriate and suited for our own national capacity? So these are things that we had to work through. Now, Madam Speaker, I am not saying that it is doom and gloom. I am saying that the board at the Medicinal Cannabis Authority has been diligently working to get these things right. And the board is ably led by Ms. Jeanne Williams-Knight and has representatives from across various sectors: customs, police, health, agriculture, you name it. There are representatives on the board that give insight across all the sectors. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, with that said, I am happy to report that over 2025, with all the work that has gone in, we have successfully transitioned CEOs. We know that we had early 2025 the resignation of one CEO, and we successfully transitioned to a new CEO. we have successfully opened the authority's physical space, which is on Princess Street. And I heard the members for Nevis 10 and Nevis maybe 9, I think, or 11, said that the people don't know where to get information. And so I know you guys were invited to the launch ceremony. I know you guys weren't there, but it is on Princess Street, Bastia St. Kitts, that the authority is. And so you can now convey that to your citizens on Nevis, that they can come for any information about development in cannabis right there on Princess Street.
Sign up.
And sign up. Now, there's a lot of work that has been done. And to get it right, we've had sessions with the Chief Medical Officer, we've had sessions with the Bureau of Standards, the Council Against Drug Abuse, who's actually vested, again, with the communication about the legislation and its effects. And so, to the member from Nevis 10, you had asked that question. And that, again, the Bureau, the Council Against Drug Abuse, will be rolling out a full-fledged campaign on the legislation and the development of that. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, I want to look ahead in the area of cannabis. To 2026. We see the area of medicinal cannabis as an area where in 2026 we are set to launch the official website. And that website will help in providing clear guidance on licensing, timelines, and all the other requirements. But this would also help in improving the transparency and the efficiency of information and public engagement and understanding. But also, Madam Deputy Speaker, in 2026, we are looking to launch the SKN Cannabis Cup. And what is this, Madam Deputy Speaker? It is a competition for our local growers to establish where we are in the industry. And I'm not just talking about what is St. Kitts and Nevis's position in the global industry, but what are our standards currently with our traditional growers? What are their strengths and their weaknesses? What areas do we need to develop? What areas do we need to harness that they have a high level of skill? And from that information, then we see how we roll out the licensing in next year. So the whole idea is that we test the industry. We ensure we understand where we are. And we use that data to roll out into the year. And this has been guided not just by the local authorities. We have engaged a global expert, Dr. Michel Emmanuel of the University of the West Indies, a well-respected botanist and cannabis researcher globally. And he is expected to be on island in short order. I understand could be within a month or two. And he will be helping with training our growers. He will be helping with the public education. He will be helping with developing testing standards and a pathway to certification for all the medical practitioners. Dr. Emmanuel has been instrumental in the development of industries across the Caribbean. And what we now have are the lessons learned and the pitfalls that we should be avoiding, and which would help us to avoid some of the major pitfalls. Madam Speaker, we are moving in that area. And some may say we are moving slowly, but I say we are moving responsibly. We are moving carefully so that we avoid any undue pressure on our economy. Madam Deputy Speaker, we are committed to getting this done correctly for the benefit of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, and making sure that when we roll this industry out, our people have the right benefits. But as I recognize time is going, Madam Speaker, I want to talk about food security for a bit, because a number of questions were asked and a number of matters, I think, need to be discussed, Madam Deputy Speaker. Madam Deputy Speaker, when we look at the budget and we look at capital projects and infrastructure development, we see areas like the agro-processing unit, where we have fully renovated the agro-processing unit, and we have been procuring equipment which are now here actually and installing them to help our agro-processors amplify production. What does this mean for the local man on the ground? Madam Deputy Speaker, when we sat down to create our 25 by 25 plan, we looked at the entire agricultural value chain. Everything from land preparation to the type of seed, to the growing practice, to harvesting methods, to post-harvest storage and transportation, to distribution, to consumption. And we recognize that as we develop in the crops that we have selected, not all the crops or all the fruit produced will meet the fresh market standard. Some of them just won't meet that standard. So then we recognize it will open up a wide door for agro-processing so that we do not lose those valuable products, Madam Deputy Speaker. So as we grow more, there'll be more that does not meet the market, and we need to do something with them to increase value and extend their shelf life and make them marketable. And so we then went ahead to develop the agro-processing unit to be able to capture that area. It now means that the people that are making hot sauces, people that are making jams, people that are making flour, the people that are making, you name it, there's so many different products that are being made now by our local agro-processors. We have been winning competitions via agricultural fair all over with our products. They now have a home to mass produce their products. We have built out a facility that they can utilize to mass produce their products. That is what we are talking about. Reduce wastage, because post-harvest wastage is a big issue. We're talking about reducing that wastage and turning that into value for St. Kitts and Nevis. But this has been a comprehensive plan. This has been a very comprehensive plan. We have measured even how we produce among the 14 crop varieties for different scales of land, and how that production fits into the value chain. One of the challenges we have been facing, Madam Deputy Speaker, is the idea of consistency. We have been training our farmers. To date, from we launched this program to now, we have done dozens of training sessions. But again, sometimes it is difficult to pass on new tricks to people who are seasoned in their ways. But we continue to try, Madam Deputy Speaker, because our farmers have been used to seasonal planting. They plant when the rain is about to come. We are saying to them, the market doesn't necessarily work in that fashion. The market demands a level of consistency. And we are training them to be able to produce consistently. And again, those efforts are yielding some fruit, but there are some areas where we still see some need for development. But Madam Speaker, let us look at some of those areas where we could speak to, some areas of development and some areas where we do need to, where we see some success. And, when we launched the program, we had a few things that came out of our discussion. Farmers were saying climate change was one of the biggest issues. Where drought at the time was affecting their cultivation. We got to work. We ordered and distributed over 200 water tanks and irrigation system to our farmers. Now, and we did that free of cost. Now, I have been visiting farms, and I could tell you, I was impressed with Mr. Omar Williams down in Middle Island. I remember visiting his farm before he got the supplies. And he said to me, I had never received anything from the Ministry of Agriculture before. He got the supplies. And within a year of receiving the supplies, he opened Middle Island Market. And you could go down to Middle Island Thursdays and I think Fridays and purchase fresh produce from his farm down at Middle Island Market. And again, he gives credit to the support that we had given him to be able to increase production and be able to supply his community with food. I could speak of Neil Mitchell down in Date Bay, member for number 6.
Yeah.
Neil currently has, I would say, over 5,000 sheep and goat. And when I visited Neil's farm some months ago, Neil said to me, Minister, I hope you are going to be minister for at least the next 10 years, because I got 10 years in this, and I want you to be the minister while I'm here, because this is the best I ever see this. That means you must have been doing a good job. But that's Neil. I can speak of Terence Acosta, who has one of the best cattle operations in St. Kitts and Nevis. And again, Terence Acosta has credited the department for their support in enabling him to run such an effective operation. But one of the people that, for me, inspires me a lot is Mr. Leon Anthony. I am inspired by Leon Anthony a lot. Because I remember in my days where I was committed to farming, Leon Anthony would always win Farmer of the Year. Yellow. Yellow. Would win Farmer of the Year. When you were minister, he won Farmer of the Year, correct? And I remember being in Costa Rica, and Dr. Mohammed was doing a presentation for Cathay. And in his presentation, they were studying Yellow's farm as a model of excellence at a university in Costa Rica. And Yellow's has been able to allow us to use the model of his farm to share it with the rest of the country, to share his success with the rest of the country. And every time Yellow see me, Yellow said, Minister, but this is the best agriculture ever been. And what is important about that is that I don't even know Yellow to be politically aligned with our institution. But he has been committed to agriculture, and he has said how he feels about the state of agriculture. And this is a man who has been winning Farmer of the Year well before I was even minister.
Honourable Member, your
Yes.
time is up, so you would have to act.
I would like to request additional time, Madam Speaker, to finish my presentation of this Honourable House.
The question is that the Honourable Member for St. Christopher 4 be given additional time, not exceeding 30 minutes, to do his presentation. Those in favour? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. You may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, for allowing me that time to finish my presentation. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, I want to talk about production data. Because when we talk about agriculture, we hear a lot of conversations. And I always say agriculture is a vulnerable sector. If it has too much sunshine, there's a problem. If not enough sunshine, there's a problem. If the wind blows too hard, there's a problem. If not enough wind, there's a problem. If the rain falls too hard or too long, there's a problem. If not enough rain, there's a problem. It is a vulnerable sector. But at the same time, we have to meet it with its challenges and push forward, because we cannot survive without food. And so we constantly brave these challenges and keep pushing and finding innovative ways to be able to consistently produce supplies. Now, Madam Speaker, we have seen some of our crops showing phenomenal reserve and excellent potential in development. Not just for the domestic demand, but to be able to become export crops. I speak of crops like carrots, where we've seen over 186% increase in production. I speak of crops like sweet pepper, more nominal, but we've seen a 22% increase. I speak of crops like watermelon, where we're exceeding by 112%, Madam Deputy Speaker. Crops like tomato, where we've seen 53% increase. Yes, we do have crops like cabbages where we have seen increase, but at like 1%. And we do have some crops where we have not seen an increase. But, Madam Deputy Speaker, this is what we are doing. It is a work in progress. And we are developing, and I see this development going quite well. One of the things that we have done to transform the sector as well is the plant material that we introduce. Last year into this year, we introduced 150,000 pineapple slips, 60,000+ banana and plantain slips, and 15,000 coconut slips. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, I just want to give a brief outline of what that means. The average cost per pound for pineapple is what? Remember from Needles 11? Average cost per pound, pineapple? Huh? The average cost per pound for pineapple? Okay. And the average poundage for a pineapple is how much? 3 pounds. So $8 per pound by 3 pounds. That's about how much that is? $24. And let's just keep it basic for the maths, by 150,000.
24 by 150,000, that's a bit more difficult, but that's about 4 million.
So we see how this contributes to the society. So the pineapple alone, just by a static standard, could bring near $4 million, right? And if we do a similar exercise with plantains and banana, you average what, 30, 40 pounds a lock? And they sell for what, $3, $4, $5 a pound? By 60,000? Again, you see, we're looking at millions and millions of dollars being injected into our economy. But this wasn't by accident. We studied this before and recognized how can we build agriculture to that level. But why did we choose some of these crops? One, based on import statistics. but 2, based on survival as well. A crop like banana, a green banana is a starch and a vegetable. And as a starch could produce flour that could then produce byproducts like dumplings and cakes and pastas. And so without changing our diet, we can rely on what we grow. A ripe banana is a fruit, and again can produce desserts and can also produce different commodities, juices and so many other things. And we've thought this too. How do we make sure that our country is stable in the worst case scenario? But how can we ensure that in a case as today, we can continue exporting and providing food for our people and the region? These are some of the things that we have done. But as you know, I do have a lot to talk about, but I want to move on to another area of concern that was raised. The hatchery. Now, my good friend from Nevis 10 and my good friend from Nevis 11 has indicated that they're not sure about the operations there and the 2025 agenda. Now, I want to just put on record, my good friend from Nevis 11, when I was elected in 2022, in short order, what did I do? I came over to Nevis and I paid you a courtesy card. Correct?
Yeah, I don't know if I get what you tell me.
Okay then.
You what?
Unfortunately, shortly after that,
Yeah.
he left, and my good friend,
To come back.
huh?
To come back.
He left to come back. Okay. You guys will determine that part, but he left.
Vacation.
And my good friend from Nevis 10 took over office. And what did I do? I came over and paid you a courtesy call, didn't I?
Yes, of course.
All right. We established a 25 by 25 task force, and it had members of St. Kitts, and still has, members of St. Kitts and members of Nevis, correct?
Yes.
All right. We even hosted some of those sessions in Nevis, which you were present.
Yes, of course.
And we still continue to share information. And so, as you were presenting, I was wondering, how is it that you don't have the information when your team has their hands on it? But nonetheless, with that said, I think I provided some on the 25 by 25, but I want to talk about the poultry. Now, I am quite sure that you are very much familiar with your poultry farmers, correct? Now, sorry? So now, just for clarity, because it was asked, to date, our hatchery has hatched 9,314 day-old chicks for distribution. We have distributed those chicks locally, and when I say local, I mean federally, and of course, regionally. Federally, I know you said that people from Nevis were at the airport importing chicks. I don't know about that. But we do not block imports either way because people have a choice on the varieties they wish to rear. But if you know Daniel Sankey, he purchases from us.
How much you got now? 75?
If you know Ingle Lawrence, purchases from. And if you know Andrew Leach, purchases from us. And so, again, you know, just for your update, because somehow it seems like the information isn't reaching all the way up.
I'm just someone outside looking in, so I'm just asking.
That's okay. So I'm providing the updates that you are asking for, and ensuring that if the information isn't reaching up, that we have a chance to share that information. So these people have been purchasing from the hatchery already, and we are supplying them. In fact, we are now expanding our hatchery so that we can supply the region. Because one of the things that was recognized in our OECS meetings is that St. Kitts and Nevis has the best hatchery in the entire OECS. And all the OECS countries would prefer buying from us than buying from Miami. So we are now expanding our hatchery to be able to service the entire OECS. We are already doing St. Kitts and Nevis, close territories. We want to do the entire OECS. And that is on the agenda and part of our own investment. Now, while I could talk about storage and all these other things, I want to move on and wrap up and talk about fisheries, Madam Speaker. Because agriculture is one of those industries, as we know, you plant a seed, it has to grow, and then you harvest. Fisheries depends more on the hunt. And so fisheries has seen more rapid growth than necessarily the area of agriculture. Because while the animals and the plants are growing, the fisher folk are out hunting. And that's why, Madam Speaker, last year, we saw the industry earning $19+ million, which is a $10 million increase from when we got into office. I've seen the data from January to June of this year, Madam Speaker, and we have already surpassed our 2022 figures. So we are well in line to either meet or exceed last year's figures. Now, what does this mean for the industry and the agriculture sector? It means that instantly, between 2022 when we started, 2 years after everybody else, might I put on record again. Remember, St. Kitts and Nevis started 2 years after everybody else. In 2022 when we started, we have already added $10 million just by fisheries development. So if you're asking about where we are, I'm giving some information to understand that the sector is moving. Are there challenges? Yes, they are. Are we meeting those challenges head on? Yes, we are. We have human resource challenges. We have climate challenges. We have so many challenges. But wherever we meet those challenges, I will be willing to address them head on and make sure that this industry has a fighting chance to become, again, one of the industries that contribute significantly to the national development. That is my mandate. And we work day in and day out to secure that. It's not going to be perfect. Agriculture never is. But I could assure St. Kitts and Nevis that in the end, it will be worth it. Because when anything such as COVID happens and the boats may not be able to come, God forbid, we must be able to survive here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And if we have chicken, and we have rabbit, and we have all the different livestock, and we have bananas and plantains and tomatoes and ground provision and the whole works, we can eat. Cook a pot of soup and eat. And the soup will go a long way. So, while we are seeing these successes in the fisheries sector, we are not forgetting sustainable development and management of our marine sector. And we have been pursuing quite a bit of management efforts. We could talk about our biodegradable panels for fish ponds. And we have done a lot of training with our farmers on that. We can talk about our approach to, our enhanced approach to sargassum management. We received 2 tractors this year to help with the coastal cleanup. And awaiting more equipment for next year. And so we see 2026 where we'll be able to tackle sargassum management more effectively. I also want to talk about our fads, because for me that has been a shining story. I remember in my first series of meetings, how much time do I have, Madam Speaker? 16 minutes? Okay, good. When I got into office, we had meetings with our fisherfolk. And they said to me that their most productive fishing grounds were the 2 fads that came from our relationship with JICA. Right? And I asked about them. They said they were subsurface fads. So I said, do you believe that more fads of that nature will help to improve your catch? They said yes. I gave the department a mandate that if we have 2 out there, I want at least 15 more. And let us speak with CRFM and other agencies to see the best way to design them to create a corridor to enhance fish catch. We did that. We did that. To date, those same fisher folk from Date Bay, Old Road, Dastia, Nevis, collectively built over 21 fads which they are now deploying. I think they have the last 8 to deploy. There were 2. They have done now 21 to add to that. And so we believe the sector can even grow even further than where we are now, sustainably, easing the pressure on coastal fisheries while doing so. So, biodegradable fish pot, stopping the ghost fishing, deployment of artificial reef in our coastal regions, where we're using the old conch shell to create nurseries for young fish, enhancing our coastal fish stocks again, and training and deploying more fads for more deep sea fishing, more pelagic fishing, easing the pressure on coastal fisheries. Sustainable development while economic development work hand in hand. Right, remember from Nevis 11?
Building a sustainable island state.
That's right. There you go. Because you ask the questions I have to answer, right? And remember my colleague for Nevis 10. And for the matter that was raised about collaboration, I spoke to my own effort to collaboration. But I could go even further. When I hosted the Minister of Agriculture for St. Martin, as we were discussing trade between St. Kitts, Nevis and St. Martin, I didn't host those discussions alone. I brought the minister over to Nevis to have discussions with a member from Nevis 10. Did I not?
Yes, of course.
There you go. When Southern University came here on the invitation, I did not host them alone. I brought them over to Nevis to meet with the member for Nevis 10. Did I not?
Yes.
Okay. When we had Tabasco come here, I did not, again, host them alone and say, this is for St. Kitts. Brought them over to Nevis to have discussions with the member for Nevis 10. And everything that I have been doing, I have tried my best to make it a collaboration between St. Kitts and Nevis. Now, sometimes we get invited, and you know you are a minister on a trip, and they say they will pay for the minister. And it's not in my jurisdiction to necessarily invite or send somebody else. But again, I note what you asked, but I just wanted to be clear that I have made tremendous effort to ensure agriculture is a federal matter and not just a St. Kitts matter. In fact, you guys have been growing peppers for Tabasco as well over there, right? Tested.
Yes, we have tested.
There you go. There you go. Because we have made it a federal effort, not just a St. Kitts effort. And I was adamant about that. And that's why when I came in office, I came over. I didn't ask you to come and see me. I came over. And when you left office, I didn't say, well, I met with the minister already, because there was a new minister. I went back again and I met with the minister, because it's a federal effort. And we stand on that. I mean, I heard you guys talk about this government in glowing colors. How we have been better at collaborating than the previous one, that you were actually a part of.
It's late now, so I won't do it.
But I just want that to be noted for the record because the question was asked. And so, Madam Speaker, as I wrap up, I have been given the mandate to come here by the people of constituency number 4. And I have also been given the mandate to lead in the ministries of agriculture. The ministries of agriculture, fisheries, marine resources, sport, small business entrepreneurship, cooperatives, and the creative economy. And we have been putting significant work in every area of each ministry. Not every ministry, but every area of each ministry. The Ministry of Small Business was created when this administration got into office. And today we talk about the ministry as if it's been around for a decade. Notwithstanding that it has only been 2 years since formally established, outside of a name on the book. We launched that in 2023 September. And in the past couple of years, we have made significant strides in supporting the small business sector. Likewise, the creative economy. And in the area of sports, we've seen the tremendous work we've done in facility enhancement and upgrades. Brand new stadium in Connery. Complete overhaul in Kim Collins. Renovations of Netball City. Renovations of Basketball City with a brand new court. Renovations at Warner Park Cricket Stadium. We bought a brand new Jumbotron for Warner Park. That was almost $1 million. We did work on the lights in Warner Park football. We've renovated Half-a-Tree Stadium. We've renovated Lambert Stadium. We've done work at St. Paul's. I mean, all of this in 3 years, Madam Speaker. 3 years. And guess when the last time basketball was done? Certainly not in the last decade before now. Guess when the last time Kim Collins was done? 2013. When was the last time netball was done? And so, it baffles me how the same people who could not get it done are now the loudest talking about it needs to be done. 2 terms, Madam Speaker. 2 terms. 7.5 years. And they couldn't do it. Surplus after surplus and couldn't do it. And in 3 years, look at what has been done.
That's right.
And they're still making it seem like more should have been done.
And progress.
And they keep trying to mislead the people. We told the people of St. Kitts and Nevis we will deliver an indoor basketball facility. But we never said that Basketball City will be that facility. I have clearly outlined in my press conferences that Basketball City will not be that facility because it's too small a space to do a proper indoor facility. But some media, propaganda sites, they're not no media house, propaganda sites, keep peddling lies, thinking that the people of St. Kitts and Nevis are foolish people. But I know that the people are not. And they won't run any show here. And so we are delivering on an indoor facility. Basketball City, we are bringing it up to play in order, and the indoor facility will follow short. But nobody can tell me how to run that from the outside when you never did it when you were there. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, my commitment is to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, particularly and especially so the people that sent me here to this Honourable House, people of constituency number 4, and to the areas that I have tremendous passion for, agriculture, small business, creative economy, sports, and others. I was given that job. And every day I wake up and set forth to get that job done effectively and efficiently. And every time I step, whether on the island or off, there's one thing in my mind, to make sure that the people of St. Kitts and Nevis benefit and that this country can punch above its weight in any arena. Any arena. And I will continue to do that. That is my job. That is what the people have elected me to do. And so, Madam Speaker, I am happy to support the move of this bill the budget for 2026 is well positioned to invest in our people and continue powering progress, SKNIS and NIS. And I am happy to have my colleagues along with me and the Prime Minister support to ensure that we continue doing this effectively. And before I sit, Madam Speaker, I just want to recognize my lovely wife and the members of the ministry who are here to support me tonight. But again, Madam Speaker, may it please you.